Thousands of years ago, the world was very different from what we know today. According to the ancient story, humanity had spread across the earth, but something had gone terribly wrong. People had become cruel to one another. Violence was everywhere. Kindness and compassion seemed to have vanished from the world. And in the middle of all this chaos, there was one man who stood out. His name was Noah. Now, Noah wasn't a superhero. He wasn't a king or a warrior. He was just an ordinary man, a farmer actually, who tried to live a good life. He had a wife, 3 sons named Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. In a world that had lost its way, Noah's family tried to do the right thing, day after day. One day, something extraordinary happened. According to the story, God looked at the world and saw all the violence and corruption, and it broke his heart. He decided that the world needed a fresh start, a reset button, if you will. But God didn't want to give up on humanity completely. So he chose Noah, the one good man he could find, and gave him a warning that must have sounded absolutely crazy. God told Noah, "I'm going to send a flood unlike anything the world has ever seen. It's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, and the entire earth will be covered with water. Everything will be washed away." Now imagine being Noah for a moment. You've just been told that the world is going to end in a catastrophic flood. What would you do? Panic? Run? Hide? But then God gave Noah something else: hope and a plan. God said to Noah, "Build an ark." An ark is essentially a giant boat, but not just any boat. God gave Noah very specific instructions. This thing was going to be massive, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's about 1.5 football fields long. It would have 3 decks, a roof, and a door on the side. And here's the kicker. Noah lived nowhere near an ocean. He was surrounded by dry land. Can you imagine what his neighbors must have thought? Here's this guy building an enormous boat in the middle of nowhere, warning everyone about a flood when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. They probably thought he'd lost his mind. But Noah had faith. He believed the warning he'd received, even though it seemed impossible. So he got to work for years. Some traditions say it took 100 years. Noah and his sons worked on this ark. Day after day, they cut wood, shaped planks, sealed the boards with pitch to make them waterproof. It was back-breaking work. And the whole time Noah warned people. He told them what was coming. He begged them to change their ways, to turn away from violence and cruelty. But nobody listened. They just laughed and went about their business. Finally, after years of work, the ark was finished. It stood there, massive and imposing, a testament to one man's faith in the face of everyone else's doubt. Then came the most remarkable part of the preparation. God told Noah to gather animals, 2 of every kind of animal on earth, male and female pairs, so they could repopulate the world after the flood. Now let's pause here and think about this. We're talking about elephants and mice, lions and lambs, birds and reptiles, animals that normally would eat each other, all coming together peacefully. It's a beautiful image, isn't it? All of creation, diverse and different, coming together for survival. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives also entered the ark, 8 people total, carrying the hopes of humanity's future on their shoulders. And then God himself closed the door behind them. For 7 days they waited. The sky was still clear. I imagine Noah's family must have wondered, is this really going to happen? Then on the 7th day it began. The Bible describes it in dramatic terms. The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened. In other words, water came from everywhere, from the sky above and from underground springs below. It wasn't just rain, it was as if the entire world was being reclaimed by water. And it rained, and rained, and rained. For 40 days and 40 nights the water poured down. The floods rose higher and higher. They covered the hills, then the mountains. Everything on dry land perished. The entire world, as Noah knew it, disappeared beneath the waves. But the ark floated safely, riding the waves like a cork in a bathtub. Can you imagine what life was like inside that ark? 8 people, surrounded by hundreds of animals, floating on an endless ocean. The sounds must have been incredible. Roaring, chirping, trumpeting, bleating. The smells, well, let's just say it probably wasn't pleasant. For months they drifted, no land in sight, just water in every direction. It must have been terrifying and monotonous at the same time. Did they wonder if the water would ever recede? Did they doubt? Did they argue? Did they comfort each other? The Bible doesn't tell us much about this time, but we can imagine. They fed the animals, cleaned up after them, took care of each other. They were preserving life itself day by day in the most unlikely of circumstances. After 40 days, the rain finally stopped, but the water didn't disappear immediately. Noah and his family floated on that vast ocean for months, 150 days to be exact, before the water started to recede. Finally, the ark came to rest on a mountain, Mount Ararat, according to a tradition. But they still couldn't leave. The world outside was still covered in water. So Noah did something clever. He sent out a raven, which flew back and forth, looking for land but finding none. Then he sent out a dove. The first time it returned, there was nowhere to land 7 days later. He sent it out again, and this time it came back with an olive branch in its beak. An olive branch. That meant trees were growing again. Life was returning to the earth. 7 more days, and Noah sent the dove out a third time. This time it didn't come back. It had found a home. Finally, after more than a year on the ark, God told Noah, "Come out." Imagine that moment. The door opens, and for the first time in over a year, Noah and his family step out onto solid ground, fresh air. Sunshine, the smell of earth. The animals rush out, eager to roam free again. The first thing Noah did was build an altar and give thanks he had survived the impossible. He had kept faith when everything seemed hopeless, and now here he was, standing in a world washed clean, ready to start again. God made a promise to Noah that day. He said, "Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood. This is my covenant with you, with your descendants, and with every living creature." And as a sign of that promise, God created something beautiful, a rainbow. From that day forward, whenever rain falls and the sun breaks through, creating those arcs of color across the sky, it's meant to be a reminder that after every storm, there's hope, that destruction isn't the end of the story, that new beginnings are always possible. So what can we take from this ancient story today? First, there's the power of faith. Noah believed and acted on that belief, even when it seemed crazy, even when everyone around him thought he was wrong. Sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone. Second, there's the theme of preparation. Noah didn't wait until the rain started to build his ark. He prepared. He worked. He did what needed to be done, even though it was hard and took years. Third, there's the idea of stewardship. Caring for creation, Noah was entrusted with preserving life itself. Every animal, every creature mattered. That's a powerful message about how we should treat our world and its inhabitants. And finally, there's hope. Even in the darkest times, even when everything seems lost, there's the possibility of starting over. The rainbow reminds us that storms don't last forever. Whether you see this as literal history, metaphor, or ancient wisdom, the story of Noah's Ark has resonated with people for thousands of years. It speaks to something deep in the human experience, our capacity for faith, our need for hope, and our ability to start fresh. Noah was just one person who chose to listen, to believe God, and to act. And according to the story, that was enough to save the world. Maybe that's the most powerful lesson of all. One person doing the right thing can make all the difference. If you enjoy this story, leave a comment, like, and subscribe for more ancient Bible tales where every story brings faith to life.